All right. So again, my name is Andrew Bottom. I'm the Global Internship Program Coordinator at UCLA. And I invited Tyler to talk today a little bit more about the global internship opportunities virtually this summer with CRCC Asia. As we've mentioned, we're doing our best to see whether it's possible to still do in-person programming, but due to some uncertainty, obviously with travel restrictions, health and safety due to the COVID pandemic, we wanted to preemptively provide you some more information of what a virtual internship might look like should we need to pivot virtually, and then allow you the opportunity to ask questions. So Tyler will give you a little bit more information about how CRCC works and opportunities you might have, some examples of a virtual internship. And then we'll have a chance at the very end of the presentation to ask questions. It's a small group, so I'll probably open it up so you can unmute yourself. But if you have questions throughout the presentation, you don't want to forget, feel free to put those in the chat and we can address those as we get to the end. So anyways, I'm going to throw it over to Tyler and we'll get started.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for your help, and welcome everybody. Happy Friday to you. Very excited to speak to you about our engineering virtual opportunities this summer. And again, my name is Tyler. So I represent CRCC Asia, who is the organization that facilitates the in-person internship programs. You've probably heard about the Osaka engineering program. We also have a sister company, which is called Virtual Internships. And as the creative name suggests, we facilitate the virtual option. So we're technically two different companies, but we actually operate under the same founders. So just depending on whether you end up in the in-person internship or the virtual, that's just going to determine which of the two agencies will be supporting you. But I'm excited to talk to you again about some virtual opportunities. It seems like with this past year and everything going on, virtual work has really become incredibly popular, but it actually has been a thing for quite some time now, especially in certain fields such as IT, where many people in the IT field were working remotely for many, many years. So we're going to first off talk about some reasons why somebody might choose to work virtually, whether it's because they have other things going on that they want to work alongside of their internship, they can't travel for a reason, or they just want to get some skills but want to do it from their bedroom or their kitchen table. So without further ado, like I said, I want to start off with talking about why complete a virtual internship. Why would a student like yourself, who's maybe a few years into college, benefit from this type of online work experience? So there's many. I usually list four. So the first one I talk about is gaining remote working skills. This is something we talk about a lot with our internships. If you think about working remotely and working from your home, where you're not in an office, you're not seeing your supervisor every single day, and they're not really there to ask questions to every 5 minutes. So when you're working online, as you all probably have learned from learning online through school, not only is it a lot different, but it also comes with its own kind of unique challenges that you have to work to overcome. So a few of these skills we talk about with remote working, things like being proactive, right? If you find yourself in a sticky situation and you need to ask a question, well, you have to reach out to your supervisor. You might have to reach out to them to make that connection. You might have a little bit of difficulty staying motivated, working from your bedroom where there's all these exciting things to do besides work. So you have to work on that. You have to work on staying disciplined, managing your time, sticking to deadlines. If there's not a supervisor over your shoulder every 5 minutes telling you to get back to work, you're going to need to really kind of do that yourself. And so we find that these types of skills would translate very well to any career field, not just engineering. So it is good for students to consider building these skills early on before they enter the workforce, so that they already kind of have a bit of a leg up over the students who didn't do an internship while they were in college. The second one is gaining a global network. You've probably all heard the term networking, speaking and learning from people in your similar career field who you can kind of learn from about their career journey and maybe just open up some opportunities down the road for you. So we always try to say that with global networking and you're doing it remotely, it really does have a lot of benefits because your network is pretty much limitless. If you have to stay in the United States and you're connected with a company in Japan, you can build your network in Japan without ever having to travel there. And basically, we have students who oftentimes get full-time job offers from their internship. It's not every intern, but we always try to talk about that because if some of you are seniors and you're graduating and you always said, you know what, I plan to move to China when I graduate. And so it would be a good idea for me to start building my network in China and just kind of starting somewhere. Getting a remote internship with a Chinese company could be a really excellent first step. and kind of set you up for success down the road. So it's always good to extend that network globally if you've already done a few internships in the US. Tangibly, we talk about improving your resume/CV. At the end of the day, this is a real professional experience. You're building skills, you're gaining connections, as we just talked about, and you're going to put all this on your resume. When you go to apply for a job and you have a remote internship with a company in India, that's something that's going to stick out to a lot of employers. It's not something that everybody has on their resume. So you have to think about, when you graduate, making yourself really as competitive as an applicant as possible. One of the ways to do that is by putting remote international work experience on that resume, kind of giving it that competitive edge. And the last one, which I think this is kind of a unique point, is a flexible work schedule. When you're working remotely, especially if your company is located in a much different time zone, let's say you're working with a company in China, that's pretty much a full day's difference. And so it's very unlikely that you'll be needing to work that kind of typical 9 to 5. So for some students, we know this summer you might be enrolling in courses, you might have another part-time job and you're trying to do this plus that, or you babysit, or you do something that also takes up some of your time. This is a great opportunity to do alongside something else because of that flexible work schedule. It does not require you to be in an office every single day from a set time. And we also work with other schools who do internships during the semester. So many of the students will undertake, like, say, a 20-hour-a-week internship in addition to their courses. So just something to think about if you were saying, I'm going to have some free time this summer, probably would be good for me to gain some skills while I'm there. So those are some of the reasons. Again, the list is not conducive to just those 4, but I like to now unpack a little bit about the virtual internships program and really what is it and what is it going to look like for you. So the first kind of big topic we talk about is program support. So we've actually been running these virtual programs for the last 3 years. We were founded in 2018. So we like to say that we were a little bit above the curve when it comes to like the whole remote work craze. And as we've been building these programs and we've hosted now well over 1,500 students worldwide, we noticed that there were sometimes some disconnect with certain students and challenges that they face. And we wanted to make sure we built our program to like support all those areas. So when you're working remotely, you might feel a little bit disconnected. You're not meeting your colleagues in person. And so you might need somebody to kind of have like a day-to-day touch point with, in addition to the supervisor at your company. So from our end, from virtual internships end, we have a few staff members that you'll actually be working with for different levels of support. The first is what we call an intern experience manager. You can think about this really just like your advisor. Day-to-day support. If you have a question about your internship, if you're having trouble balancing your tasks, or you forgot to submit one of the weekly checkpoints, your intern experience manager is going to be there for you literally day to day, and they actually check in with you every single week. So you'll have a lot of touch points with them. The second is an internship coach. You'll only really speak to them twice during your program. The first is going to be at the midpoint, so right at the halfway mark of your internship, for what we call the midpoint coaching call. And then there's another touch point with your coach at the end of the internship. We call the final coaching call. So these coaching calls are much more like more formal discussions about like professional development. So unpacking the experience so far, how have things been going for you? What kind of challenges might have you run into? And then at the end of the internship, talking about, okay, you've done this program, let's look at goal setting for the future and kind of where this is going to lead you for your next opportunity. So that's the coach. And then we talked about the intern experience manager. In addition to this, we also want to give you a chance to connect with our team and also your fellow interns. We are hoping for a large cohort from UCLA, so we want to definitely facilitate some great discussions with all of you, all of the students. So the first is through our Slack channel. We have a Slack channel for our interns where they all join us, and every week we do like a different guided discussion. So we talk about some different articles or things that you're working on and encourage you to share your own experience so far. And then we also do a lot of great business webinars. So covering different topics and kind of teaching you about some levels of professionalism. We very often have people from, say, the engineering field coming to us and hosting a webinar to talk about their experience. So a lot of touch points, a lot of support. We just want to make sure you feel that there are a lot of people to help you through the program. And that's kind of what that looks like from us. The last kind of big inclusion we talk about is called Career Bridge. It's very simply our kind of online curriculum. So we know that with students, the internship is obviously a big part of professional development. Some students might also be seeking some more formalized learning through kind of like a more educational based course curriculum. So that's what Career Bridge is. So it includes a lot of different modules about, cross-cultural working. So let's say, for example, you end up being placed with a company in China. There's going to be a Career Bridge module about Chinese business culture, learning about that hierarchy, how the day-to-day communication might look, and just kind of getting you ready to start that internship. So Career Bridge is not always mandatory, but it is something we really encourage students to just kind of look through because we think it might be pretty beneficial to you. So that's the inclusions. The next point is to talk about our career fields. And so while you are all applying for the engineering cohort with UCLA, we actually have a few different options for kind of what type of internship you might want to pursue. And I would kind of draw your attention to three of these. So the first one is very obviously engineering. So this could be like a mechanical engineering company, an automotive company, robotics, things like that. Another very popular one for engineering majors is computer science and IT. For students who are maybe you're a computer science major, you want to do software programming, app development, that's going to be another great option. And the third one that I would say is also very relevant is green technology. So this would be your environmental engineering, your renewable energy companies, solar energy, wind energy, things like that. So again, there's going to be a few options for the specific type of internship within engineering that you want to go for. You're not just applying to one specific internship, it's kind of the broader career field. And I'm going to explain really what that means in the next few slides. Hopefully it will kind of make very good sense to you all. So with virtual internships, we have a network of host companies all throughout the world. So for the UCLA group, this is for a placement within Asia. So a lot of our companies would fall in some of those countries at the bottom. So China, Japan, Singapore, South Korea, we have large networks of companies in all of these areas. Globally, we're at about now just past 3,500 companies total. A large majority of them are kind of in what we call the small to medium range. So anywhere from 5 to 50 employees. We do have a few large multinational corporations, but the chances are it's going to be with a company in kind of that medium size or even startup range, for example. And so, as I said before, you're not applying to just one internship. You're kind of applying for the opportunity to be placed with a variety of different options in your designated career field. So this slide really quickly is going to talk about really what does that look like, and hopefully this will make sense to you. So let's say you apply to the program and you're approved by UCLA. So you applied for the engineering internship field, and you're really interested in mechanical engineering. You maybe love to do environmental engineering and renewable energy. Those are kind of your top three topics you're interested in. So we follow what we call a linear placement process, and you can just think about a straight line going, horizontally. So when we receive your information and you're confirmed on the program, what our team is going to do is put together a profile of you based on, like I just said, your career field choice, which would be engineering, kind of those top topics that you're interested in, renewable energy, things like that, and also your resume. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to send this out to some of our companies in our network that we feel like would be right along the lines of what you're interested in. So for that example, we have a lot of renewable energy companies. We have a lot of mechanical engineering companies. We would maybe pick 5 or 6 and kind of start there and send that information out to kind of see what interest is there. So eventually what would happen is a company would get back to us and say, oh, I see you've sent this application over. We're actually looking for a mechanical engineering intern. This student seems to have really good skills. We see they have AutoCAD, they've done SolidWorks, MATLAB. We'd love to give them an interview. So this is a good sign because it means that there's some interest. What we will do with you as the student is work with you and then the company to kind of pick a time that works best for you guys to do an interview. And if it is somewhere different in the world, like let's say it's Japan, it might not always be the best time, maybe something early in the morning or late for you, but we usually try to pick a time that's relatively simple for both sides. And if you've ever done an interview before, it's really kind of for 2 main reasons. The first is for you as the student, we want you to get a chance to actually talk with this company who has expressed somewhat interest in you. First of all, what do they do? Do they have what is their opening? What are they looking to have the intern work on, the projects, the tasks? And kind of for you to determine, if I was given an offer to this company, would I accept it? Do I see myself joining this company for my internship this summer? Now, on the other side of it, for the company, we want them to basically determine are you qualified for their position? Do you have the certain skills that they need to basically execute this particular role? Do they like your attitude? Do they like your motivation? And do you just seem like someone who they would say, you know what, I would love to offer this student a chance to join my company for the next 2 months. So at the result of that interview, we basically want to see, A, did you like it? And B, is the company actually going to be making you that offer? Because that's not always the case. And this is where it kind of gets confusing to some students. So just because you interview with a company does not mean that you're going to be working with them. They have to make kind of a formal offer to you. So let's say that happens. Company loved you. They said, you know what, we'd like to offer you to join our internship. And you are like over the moon, loved it. I would love to join it. You say, I want to confirm this placement. Basically, we go ahead and do that. And you are now set with your internship for the summer. And you're kind of just waiting until June 21st when you're going to start your internship. Now, that situation, the result of those interviews can go two other ways. The first is the company actually decides, you know what, we interviewed you and one other student. We just feel like the other student is a little bit better suited and we're going to actually offer them the internship. So for you, that's really not the end of the world. Sometimes students are like, if I don't get the first offer, does that mean I'm like out of the program? No. As I think I mentioned before, every student going through this program is guaranteed an internship in their career field. So as an engineering intern, you're going to get an engineering internship. It might not just be the first one you interview with. So let's say they don't want to make the offer. We have plenty of other options. Again, remember, we sent out your information to more than one company already. We probably have several other options that we can go to right away. The third way that that interview can go is if you actually get an offer made to you and you say, you know what, this is just not at all what I want to do. I didn't like the company supervisor. The interview wasn't great. I'd like to kind of maybe try the next option. That's perfectly fine. Students can decline an offer. What we can't do is have you say, I got this offer, it sounds pretty cool, but I want to actually get a few more offers on the table and then I'm going to make my decision. There will never be a situation where you have more than one offer made to you at a time, because at the end of the day, you can only accept one of those. So we follow, as this slide suggests, linear placement. One company interview, offer yes or no. Do you want to accept it? If not, we go to the next opportunity. If you do want to accept the offer, you're good and the placement process is now finished. So I hope that makes sense. If you do think of any questions or that's kind of confusing, again, we're going to take plenty at the end. So hopefully this is clear to you guys. And now, hopefully what some of you have been waiting for is to talk about some example placements. So we always get the question again, what type of internship can I do virtually? Especially how does an engineering internship translate virtually? You know, if you want to be on the ground working on stuff with your hands, what things can you do over the computer? Well, there's actually a lot. So I'm going to give you 5 examples and they're all within the engineering field. But as you will see, they're all very different. We know that all engineering students, even if you guys are all, say, mechanical engineering majors, you're all going to have very different interests and you're going to be interested in doing different things. So the first one I'd like to talk about is a company called G-Stream Technology. They're out of Taiwan. And their main kind of function is they create robots for AI use, for healthcare services, for security. And so the intern is going to be responsible for doing a few different things, which are these bullet points down here. So they want you to actually run through and kind of manage the project for a lot of these robotic experiments, right? So with robots, you have to test a lot of them for a lot of different things. They want you to really just kind of help with planning all of those testing, putting together budgets because it's you know, it costs money for the software to run these tests and things like that. So helping to do that, looking at like how much does it cost and kind of putting together those test plans for the different robotic experiments. The second main one is you're also going to work with some of the business team, so the customer service and the QA team, to kind of plan a bunch of different things related to the robots, whether it's like marketing strategy or inventory, things like that. And then the last one is, as you know, with engineering, there's a lot of reporting involved. It's not just having fun with a bunch of machines. It does involve a lot of administrative work. So you have to write reports with a lot of detailed data and keeping track of all those things in kind of their systems. So the internship would not just involve these 3 bullet points. Of course, as you work through the weeks, you're going to build on this and you're going to do a lot of different things. But these are kind of the 3 main components for this company, which is, again, G-Stream Technology. The next one is a great company called KGAN in Kyoto, Japan. I actually had the pleasure of visiting this company a couple summers ago when I was on the ground in Kyoto. And they are basically a company that creates different motor modules for like an auto-guided type of robot and vehicle. So they're looking for an engineering intern, as you can see by the title there. And those pictures at the bottom are actually their kind of main product. So it's basically like an autonomous robot that can drive around, and that one on the right has a camera on top of it, and it's all controlled through their smartphone app. So that picture on the left, you kind of drag that little center circle depending on how you want the robot to move. I think it's really unique how it all runs through an app. So they want you to get your hands on some of that technology. So helping to actually work on the programming for the robot. So this one would require knowledge in C. So if you have C or Python or things like that, Java, sometimes the internships will say we need someone who can do this particular program. And also helping to develop the app for the robots. So app development, working on some of the back end, and also editing their website, testing the inputs of the website, making sure that they all work, maybe troubleshooting some issues. So I think this is a really unique one because it offers a lot of different opportunities, not just in engineering, but also in IT. So could be a good mix of kind of both of those fields. This one is a little bit different than when you think about a mechanical engineering internship. This company is called Tao Manufacturing out of Vietnam, and their main product is a variety of different planters. So planters made out of fiberglass, or what they call fiber-light cement. Interestingly, because Vietnam was a country that was not as affected by the COVID pandemic as a lot of other countries, a lot of their businesses actually stayed open. So this company actually did very well in helping people to furnish their office with different planters, basically these artisan planters. So they want you to do a few things. The first is using SolidWorks to simulate and test the load that each of the products can kind of basically work with, because again, they're not made of metal, so they can break. So helping to work on some of that and tallying some of those findings, working on the product specification sheet. So each of the different planters has different specifications for height and weight and things like that. And so helping to kind of promote or put those together so that you can promote the product. And the last product, I'm actually going to move this really quickly so you can see it, is you actually will get to model your own planter out of SolidWorks, and they will actually then make it in their manufacturing facility, which I've actually never heard of an internship doing that before. I think it's really, really unique. So you would get to basically pick a design from scratch, whether you want it to be like super fancy or super simple. It obviously has to work and it has to be able to be made, because then they're actually going to make it in their facility, and then they're going to get you on a video call so that you can inspect your own product. So I love talking about that one because I think it combines, even though you are remote, you still will have a say in a product that this company makes in their facility. So the next one is more on the IT end of things. This is a company called Spade out of Indonesia, and they are a game design studio. They specialize in more so iOS and Android apps. So some of their titles are down there at the bottom, just kind of, like the smartphone apps, kind of fun games, things like that. So if you're interested in game design, you've always wanted to pursue this as a career field, this is going to be a really interesting choice for you. You're going to learn how these types of apps are built. So what are some of the collaborative program tools that these developers have to use in order to basically share their work and work with one another? What are some issues that can come up when you're developing a game, and basically how do you solve these? So learning the different concepts of game loop, animation, the game logic, and then the actual final product for this one, the final project, is to actually create your own game from scratch. So you would create the programming, the artwork and things like that, and then make it and test it and share that with the company. So I really like this one because this would allow you to really see the process of game design from pretty much start to finish, if that is really what you're interested in. And I think we have one more. This company is called Evoke Motorcycles out of China. They are basically a motorcycle company, a startup that specializes in electrical motorcycles. So these are their three main products at the bottom, and I think they're really unique looking. And so they're looking for a technical engineering intern. What they would have you do is basically help with creating some of the components in, I believe, CAD. So developing the components, learning about how they're modeled and how they're then made. Is it cheaper to make them yourself, or is it cheaper to buy them from another manufacturer? Working on some of your 2D production drawing abilities, and also reading 3D models, and then also documenting some of the product progress reports and stress testing. A lot of the components, they obviously, if they're running at 200 miles an hour. They need to be able to withstand certain, momentum and things like that. So you get to look at that as well. So I do believe that that is the conclusion of the 5 examples. Just to kind of reiterate, again, there's such a large variety of internships that we offer through this program. So if you think about anything within really the broader scope of engineering, robotics, AI, mechanical engineering, automotive, we pretty much can do everything. So if this is of interest to you, I hope you will consider joining us this summer for the program in June. And I'm actually going to now bring Andrew back in so that we can facilitate a Q&A if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate all those examples. And I hope, as Tyler mentioned, those were helpful to kind of get a better idea of what a virtual internship might look like. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording so that we can then move on to a more casual question and answer session.